All right, fifth graders, today we're going to be experimenting with monoprinting. Monoprinting means one print, and each of these prints is individual, and each is going to be a little bit different. So I've been kind of experimenting this morning on what's great about monoprinting with these plates, they're called jelly plates, is that you can use a lot of different stamping techniques to create that monoprint. So I'm going to go have you choose a table that has a color you're going to want to work with the whole time. Once you've chosen a color, I need you to stay at that seat with your jelly print. What's going to happen is you are going to have one brayer in your tray and one table or tray to share with your table partners. You are going to load your brayer with ink, and you want to get the whole thing, so I roll it across, up and down, so that my brayer has a nice layer of ink. And I'm going to do that same thing on my jelly plate, going across, up and down. You are trying to get a nice even layer of ink on that jelly plate. You don't need very much ink. You want it to be a really thin layer. If your brayer is sliding on your jelly plate and not making that crackling noise, then you have way too much ink, and you're going to kind of have a sloppy print. So one of the things I experimented with was these stamps. To do this, I just laid the stamp down on my piece, and I just held it still and pressed. Okay? I want to stamp this image into my jelly plate, so I'm not going to wiggle it around. Okay, that would kind of distort the stamp, but if you would like, you could give it a try. Okay. If it gets too dirty or too inky, I just stamp it on my messy mat to get some of that ink off and then put it back into the tray. Another thing I experimented with was the marker caps. You could stamp them just like this to make light little dots. You can maybe spin them. Today is all about experimenting with the materials that you have available to you and creating some awesome, interesting artwork. So all of them are going to be a little bit different. You don't have to follow exactly what I do. But I would think about trying to experiment with some different materials. Thinking about my composition, the composition is how those elements of art are arranged. So I've used shape, I've got color, I've thought about line going across, thought about creating this visual texture. Okay? All those things are what is going to create a good piece of artwork. All right, so really carefully I'm trying to get my paper on my jelly plate and the jelly plate right in the middle of the paper, so I kind of use my bottom fingers, my middle fingers, to kind of center that paper on the jelly plate. And once it makes contact, I need to leave it there. If I wiggle the paper on the jelly print, I'm going to smear my print, and I'm not going to have a nice clean image. So I just give it a good back rub, make sure one hand is holding steady and one hand is moving, and I peel it up. Okay, awesome. On this print, I used a little bit of bubble wrap. So I'll show you one more time. Okay, if you need more ink, what you're going to do is raise a quiet hand, and I'll come and squirt just a little bit more on your tray. Okay, this printing technique is awesome because you don't need very much ink. What's really important is that I get this ink spread out evenly on my tray and on my roller, my brayer. I'm listening for that crackle of bacon. I'm looking at my tray and I don't see really heavy spots or really light spots. It's pretty even. Okay. I'm going to do that same thing to my brayer, going across, up and down, getting the whole thing. And then I put it on the tray for somebody else to use. I thought about using bubble wrap. So to use the bubble wrap, I just kind of put it on my brayer, held it still, and gave it a little press, a little background. Another thing you could use are these paint scrapers. These will scrape in lines. That might be something fun to try. Okay. I also used a popsicle stick, maybe to carve in a line. You could also maybe even carve designs. That's how I did this print, was I used the popsicle stick to carve in designs. Once again, if I have too much ink on something, I just wipe it on my messy mat. I'm going to do a print, so I have my middle fingers kind of pressing down. I'm going to find my jelly print first, and I'm going to layer it down nice and flat. hold with one hand, smooth with the other to make a nice clean print. Peel it up. Awesome. So what's going to happen is my jelly plate needs to go to the sink to get washed out. My prints need to get their name on the bottom. Okay, so with a pencil, write your name. You are doing 3 prints today. Once you have 3 prints, you're going to carry them flat like a lunch tray to the drying rack. All right, this is all about experimenting, 5th grade. I'm so excited to see what you come up with.